The US dollar stabilized amid a renewed discussion about interest rate cuts by the Fed. However, the week ended with a sharp spike after the release of unexpectedly strong employment data, which raised hopes that the Fed may make a rate cut later. This is a great example of how news can dramatically change the market. Now let's see what news from the first half of the next week may affect investor sentiment. There will be little news. However, you can assess new macroeconomic data without any haste and adjust your trading strategy or make informed decisions. The week will begin with the release of the trade balance data. The forecast points to a decrease in the indicator. Meanwhile, paying attention to how this indicator is calculated is important. It can be the growth of imports, a decrease in exports. If exports decrease, it will be negative for the Australian dollar because the Australian economy is quite dependent on exports. On a Monday, information regarding how the leading economies are performing in the services sector will continue to arrive. Notably, all developed economies concentrate the largest share of GDP in the services sector, which includes the financial sector, trade, transportation, education, management, and other sectors. That's why the state of the services sector describes the prospects of a further development of the economy as clearly as possible. The four markets are waiting for the news about the US services sector. Analysts make a very optimistic forecast, expecting a rise to the level of 52 points. Against this backdrop, the US dollar will receive a significant boost. On Tuesday, February 6, the Governing Council of the Reserve Bank of Australia may provide another reason for optimism. Most likely, the interest rate will remain unchanged. Markets expect a rate cut in the summer. But many investors are pleased with the comments of the Governing Council, which is puzzled by the slow progress in bringing inflation back to the target range of 2 and 3% per year. And this suggests that the central bank may leave the question of a rate hike open, which of course supports the Australian dollar. On Tuesday, investors will await the assessment of a business activity in the Canadian economy. Although investors rarely focus on this indicator, however, in the context of other publications, it's possible to take it into account. The indicator may fall but remain above the threshold of 50 points, separating the expansion from a contraction. On Wednesday, German industrial production data will likely break the streak of optimistic news. We have already told you that Mercedes car dealerships are closing in Germany. At the same time, seven-time Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton refused to stay with the German Mercedes team and switched to the legendary Ferrari team. We know that German industrial production has nothing to do with this news, but somehow it all turns out to be symbolic. The indicator is expected to point to a collapse of the European powerhouse industry. December is expected to show another 0.2% contraction. Our review of American markets is over. Subscribe to InstaForex TV channel, and we will keep you updated on the daily market developments. Financial markets offer ample trading opportunities. Good luck and see you online on Monday.